Hello, Yakri here with another Dominions 5 video. My apologies if I sound a bit tired at any point. I did just record this video and due to a bug lost it, or rather it was ruined, and so I'm re-recording it now. Whew, here we go. This is going to be fairly in-depth. So, I had a lot of people asking... Well, okay, I had one person ask me, and a lot of people asking on Reddit and on the Steam forums about how to play Yomi, and if anyone had gotten them to work yet. I haven't played them in a multiplayer game yet. However, I saw a suggestion by someone who had to try using, major blesses to expand with your Oni as super combatants. And I tried it out, and it works surprisingly well. So I think I have a handle on how to play the nation, and I'm going to talk about the various strategies you can use. It's actually, like, your options are actually pretty flexible, even though your pretender selection is not the best as Yomi. So probably, let's see, the notable pretenders are all the immobiles, the Oni Kunchu, and the Earth Serpent. Maybe the Demi-Lich, too. I don't think there's anything really great you can do with any of these Titans. Most of them that have stuff you might want don't have the correct pathing that you would like to have. Possibly like the Kami of the Sun, maybe. You could take Fire 7 for Awe, because that's one of the things you want and get Awe for. She doesn't have the protections. She's really not as tough as the Oni Kunshu in practice, so I don't think I like her much for this either. Alright, so there's a few different options, and I've already rolled up a few of them. So let's take a look at this. This is my favorite so far, there's something I should go over first. So look at the blesses I have on here. It's 7 Fire, 7 Earth. Now there are 3 major bless options, which is Fire 7, Earth 7, and Nature 7. You can combine any 2 of them and have a viable expanding bless for your Oni, where they can just go into indie provinces and kill everything all by themselves fairly reliably. And so the actual bless options you take are Awe, Fortitude, or Regeneration with nature magic. Awe, if you don't know, requires units to make a morale check before they can attack you. Now for indie provinces, this usually means the units have like 10 morale. They don't have great odds of beating the morale check. It's a little bit worse than a 50-50, and so a lot of times units will attempt to attack you and they just won't even bother. And the Fortitude ability gives your unit slashing resistant, piercing resistant, and blunt resistant, which reduce the damage they take from any attack of those damage types, which is all physical attacks, by half. So that's for obvious reasons, that's very good, right? Basically reduces all the damage you're going to take in melee combat by half, as well as all damage you're going to take from projectiles by half. If you combine that with Awe, the end result is that you almost never get hit, and when you do get hit, it's always minor. Now you can combine those 2 with nature magic for regeneration, which of course causes your unit to recover hit points, right? 10% of their hit points per turn, which is very good. It has the added advantage of being effective if you're being hit by spells. Like, for example, if you're poisoned, or if you're being hit with fireballs or ice spells, you know, any kind of magical attack or other attack that you can't prevent with Awe or damage resistance, is going to be useful again. So I like having regeneration instead of one of these 2, but the pretenders that you can get it on are not as ideal. The reason I really like regeneration, of course, is because it's useful even for indirect attacks and for spell slinging later in the game. However, the pretenders you can get that on are pretenders like, let's see, so I didn't take it here. Ah, yes, the Idol of Men, right? So the Idol of Men has nature magic. I squeezed a really heavy bless on this guy. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this, but it's an option. Where I got Air Shield, Awe, and Regeneration. So this is pretty nice, right? You are protected from projectiles. You'll regenerate health over time. People don't attack you very often. Great combination. Good in melee, good in late game. But it's a little bit heavy on the bless. This is like the absolute hard mode bless, right? At all 3 of the major blesses you would like. Awe, Fortitude, Regeneration. It's going to make your units resistant to everything and extremely powerful. The downside, of course, is that if people counter your Oni thugs, then they've countered your whole shtick. You're investing everything in your Dione being really awesome, and especially like really awesome at killing things by themselves, right? So if people counter that, you don't have anything left. This doesn't make them particularly better at sitting at the back of your army and throwing spells out. Regeneration helps with that a little bit, but this is not ideal for that. You could be getting a lot more out of your points for that purpose. And so if they counter your thugging, you kind of got nothing left, right? I mean, you don't actually have nothing left, but you can no longer use the thing that you spent all your design points on. So you have to make sure that you capitalize on this really powerful early game that you're going to get out of this, and the really powerful mid game you're going to get out of this. And you do take a pretty bit hefty penalty, as you have to go down to -3 drain and only 2 growth instead of 3 growth. So let's see. And this is a little bit more of a medium bless. I got Blood Surge on here. Blood Surge, First I thought it was good, then I thought it was bad. I think it's good again. It's a little bit overkill on your Dione, right? It adds 3 attack, 3 strength, 1 defense, and 1 reinvigoration after you kill something. Now, your Dione have great combat stats, so why do they need even more attack skill and even more defense skill? The defense skill is not amazing, but, still. And even, well, you don't get any reinvigoration. Even more strength. Strength is actually very superfluous because they deal massive damage. Well, the reason they might is because of chaos power, right? If you're in order scales, chaos power penalizes you instead of giving you a bonus. And this might allow your units to continue to be effective if their stats are penalized in some way. As well as the fact that it gives 1 reinvigoration, which, while not as good as if you had spent points getting reinvigoration from Earth, is beneficial, of course. So let's go back to the Oni Kunshu. Yeah, well, I'm just going to go on to the game then, and I'll talk about him in-game. So the Oni Kunshu is what I've mostly experimented with because he can expand, right? So this is what he looks like in-game with the benefits of the Bless on himself. We've got the slashing resistant, pierce resistant, blunt resistant. We've got Awe. He also has a fear aura, which your Dione have as well. It's going to be 9 instead of 5, which is what the base value is, because Death Magic grants him a bonus to it. He has very high protection because of his high earth magic, right? Basic natural protection of 8 is higher than normal, and he has +7 from earth magic, and he also wears heavy armor on his body, although nothing on his head. Still, a 15 head protection is actually fairly decent. So for the early age, that's a heavy infantry level, so you're still not going to get hit too hard in the head. And now you've got piercing, slash, and blunt resistance, so if you do, it won't be for massive damage, so you're not going to have to worry about that too much. He has Chaos Power 2, which means that when you are in Turmoil Scales or in a province with Unrest, he gets much more powerful. In particular, his Chaos, with his Chaos Power bonus, his defense skill gets pretty massive, which is going to also reduce the number of hits he takes. Let's see. I think that actually pretty much covers it for the Oni Kunshu. He's not super amazing otherwise. He's got Inept Researcher, pretty heavy penalty there, which is going to make him a lot less useful. He does have Oni Summoner, which is actually pretty nice. It means you're going to maybe get 1 or 2 more units at the start of the game, and he'll occasionally pop out a unit later on. It also means that after you're done expanding with him, he'll still be useful passively. Okay, so let's talk about what we actually do with all this stuff. Oh, wait. Let me pause for a moment. I didn't talk about the scales that I'm going with. I actually should go over the scales really quick. So, fortunately, we can still see here what scales I picked for this particular guy. So, Turmoil 3 is a must because you're playing Yomi and they have Chaos Power. If you're not in Turmoil 3, you're losing out on the benefits of Chaos Power. And if you're in Order, your units will be downright garbage because of how much it will nerf their stats. So Turmoil scales are essential, and as well, fighting on your home territory is definitely preferred. It's going to be difficult for you to invade other nations because order scales are a popular, beneficial scale. Many people will take them, and you're going to be having a really bad time when you're fighting in those scales. So you're going to need to try and find ways around that. When possible, you may want to attack neighbors who have turmoil scales if you have any. Like that. Sloth 3 is taken because you don't recruit units besides commanders in this build pretty much at all. you would only really recruit units, regular units, if and only if you are going to go with a scales build, which I wouldn't recommend. But if you did go with the scales build, then you would, of course, you wouldn't have a bless at all, and you would take production 3. But since we're not going with a true just scales build, we're gonna forget that. We're going with bless. We're going sloth 3. We're not going to recruit these. We're not going to recruit any of these guys basically ever. We may recruit archers in the future, in the distant future, but we are not recruiting any right now. And for temperature scales, we're going to pick one and go 3 points in. Now, the temperature scales determine whether or not you spawn Aka Oni or Ao Oni. Now, I've taken Heat 3 here. However, I think Cold 3 is probably better overall because that spawns Ao Oni, and Ao Oni are probably better. Now, one caveat to this is that your mages would prefer heat scales. You have fire mages who are resistant to heat, which makes them immune to the effects of excess heat on the battlefield. And you have the Hanya, or rather you can perform a ritual to turn some of your mages into Hanya, which are these what are they? They're serpent women, right? So they are cold-blooded, and they're going to want heat scales to not be fatigued out all the time. They're going to be very sad in cold scales. But you might not care about them that much. The ritual is a bit expensive, and you also have to recruit a mage before you do the ritual, and so on and so forth. And you might just want the better troops instead, and so then you would take cold scales. All right. So we take 3 growth because you do want to have some money, and growth is the best money scale in the long term, and now in the short term as well. Luck is probably an even better money scale for you because you're already taking some monetary penalties, you're taking turmoil, you're going to have lots of random events, and making a lot of them good is going to be of huge benefit to you. Yomi also has a lot of national spells that are fairly useful for the mid-game, so getting an extra stock of gems is going to help you out. We've taken Drain 2 not because we want to do it, but because we need to do that in order to get a Bless this heavy, and we don't really have anywhere else we can put these points. Or, like, take a hit, right? We really can't afford to reduce our growth scales because we won't be able to afford all of our expensive mages if we do that. We definitely can't afford to reduce our luck scales because we're getting like extra value out of them since we have turmoil, and everything else is maxed out negative already, right? And we can't really afford a weaker bless either because we can maybe drop the death 4 for death 1, and maybe I think we can maybe squeeze in one more point, but I'm not sure it's even enough to do that. So there's not really much else we can do. There's not a lot of flexibility in how we do this. With some of the other pretender options where you don't get an Awake Expander, you will have 1 or 2 more scales points, and of course you could reduce your drain to 1 or 0, and if you went with some build that maybe only has 1 bless, like maybe you went with an Earth Serpent instead, and you didn't take a bless strong enough for your Dione to expand on their own, instead you were just dependent on your Earth Serpent and actual armies to expand, then you could take Sloth 2 instead if you wanted like still some bless or something. I think Earth Serpent actually you'd have enough points to drop this way down to like Sloth 1 or 0 or even production. Not sure though, I can't remember what that came out as when I tested it. Okay, so last thing, Dominion Candles, right? I've taken 4 Dominion Strength, and I would recommend you take 4 to 5. In some cases, you can take 6, but you only take 6 if it's free, right? If there's nothing else you can spend your design points on, then you'd bump it up to 6. Otherwise, don't do it. The reason it's so low is because you can get away with it, basically. Dominion Candles, you want the minimum possible because it doesn't really do anything for you in particular. If it's a lower value, they're going to spread outwards faster anyway. That's a whole different conversation about how Dominion works, but they'll spread outwards faster, just take my word for it, and you want that. And so it's almost beneficial for you to have low Dominion starting off, and also Dominion increases every time you build 5 temples, and you are going to build a temple in every single province you control, so you're probably going to increase it by 2 to 3 points fairly quickly if you're doing this efficiently. Okay, let's talk about expansion now. And by talk about it, I mean I'm mostly just going to run through it, and I won't explain too much in the interest of keeping this from growing to like 40 minutes or an hour or something ridiculous. So, first off, I'm going to recruit a demon priest because I need him to build temples, right? And I'm going to recruit, let's see, I've got enough income, that should be fine. And then I'm going to make this guy my prophet because I need him to be blessed all the time, right? These guys don't have any priest levels, and he's going to need the bless to be able to expand effectively, and this guy is just going to research for a bit. Let's queue up some research while we're at it. Alteration 1, that's nice. So we want Alteration 2, we want Alteration 3, Conjuration 3, and then probably we're going to go up Thaumaturgy because you want to cast End of Culture as soon as possible. That's Thaumaturgy 6. The rest of Thaumaturgy is not particularly useful, which is why we get Conjuration and Alteration first. They will help your Oni be super combatants. Well, maybe it's not enough to call them super combatants. It'll help them be better thugs because there are valuable skills in Conjuration. Namely, you're going to want... Oh, is Conjuration 3 too much? No, it's not. There it is. Summon Earth Power. You want Summon Earth Power, which increases your Earth Magic by 1 when you cast it in battle and gives you Reinvigoration. Increasing your Earth Magic by 1 gives you additional 1 Protection as well because of the base effect of Earth Magic. And Conjure, and it's also going to let you cast more... Well, I guess you could cast them anyway, but you're in Conjuration, you're going to want to cast Stone Skin and then later Iron Skin when you have the option. The reason for this, of course, being because these give you a ton of extra base protection. Iron Skin, or it doesn't say it here, but it gives you 20 base protection. Stone Skin gives you 15. Very, very good on your already quite tough units. So you want those. You could also research Evocation, Construction. Those are options too. Like maybe get 2 Construction, maybe get like 3 Evocation, and then get Thaumaturgy 6. But, you know, it kind of depends on the game and your own preferences a bit. But I would say definitely start with Alteration and Conjuration. Okay, so let's go to the next turn. All right. So we've got our Prophet. We've got our Priest. He's even got a little magic path there. That's nice. All right. So now we're going to start recruiting a Dione. We want to recruit these as quickly as possible because they are our expansion force. And more expansion is mo better. That sounded really dumb. I should not say things like that. All right, well, yeah, more expansion units or more provinces taken in the early game is mostly better. There's somewhat of a subtlety element in that if you take too many provinces, people are going to think you're scary and they're going to come and kill you if you're playing in a multiplayer game. But for the most part, you want to expand as quickly as possible. And versus AI, certainly you do because they don't care. They're just going to try and kill you anyway. All right, so let's see. I'm going to take the shit work with my Prophet, and I'm going to take the nice, easy provinces with my Pretender, because I really don't want my Pretender to die, right? I don't want to risk him dying, or like do anything that could conceivably lead to his death in any way. Of course, you have to take some risks, but, you know, in theory, this is the nice thing that I would like to do. So, he's going... you're going to want to remember, actually, he needs to expand into his own dominion. Right? He can't expand into a province where your dominion is not. The reason for that being that if you are in a province without your dominion in it, you will lose your bless effects, and this guy will get killed like instantly by these hordes of units. Okay, so this is a very scary thing to expand into. I did this last time I tried this, and it worked out, but Bone Tribe can go berserk, and if they go berserk, they will ignore your awe and deal more damage. And they have high base damage, which means that they're risky because they can get past your protection and deal high damage. So this is overall just like an absolutely terrible idea to expand in here, but I'm going to do it anyway, and hopefully it'll work out. Otherwise, you might have to watch me remake the game. So, let's see. We're going to go this way first. And so both of these guys are just going to be attacking the closest units. I should actually put him up about here. You don't want it to be quite at the front because we don't want him to get surrounded and overwhelmed, but we definitely want him to get into the fight with the other units before they've taken too much damage so that he can take some hits and a little bit of distraction and kill enemies faster and end the fight faster so you don't lose as many base troops. Now my Priest, he'll just hang out here and research for now. The Scout, I'll do this like the way you should. So the Scout is just going to go out and he's going to scout. I mean, it's in his name, right? It's what he does. He's actually not a scout. Bandit. He's a bandit leader. Oh, bandit leader. Handy. Can lead troops. Okay. So. Beaten by the defending force of independence. That sucks. So. Oh, he should go. This went fine though. Okay, so how's he doing? He got an affliction. He lost an eye. Wow, this is not off to a good start. Okay, but you know what? Second time's the charm. Let's go again. All right, and this guy's gonna go this way. And I think that's all there is to it. All right, our Dione is being recruited. Took a little bit because we didn't have enough resources. That's why you'd like to have Sloth 2 instead of Sloth 3. All right, did this go okay? Yep, he killed everybody this time. All right, so let's watch this. We'll see why these guys are dangerous right here. So, all right, we're gonna watch this on hyperspeed. Wait, well, it's gonna go. There we go, hyperspeed. All right, so the reason these guys are dangerous is because let's look at one of the undamaged ones, unberserk ones. So he deals 18 damage with piercing weapon, which means it ignores 20% of protection, and he can go berserk plus 3, so that's going to increase his damage by 3 and his attack skill by 3 at the cost of defense, but he doesn't really care about defense. So that's going to make him very dangerous. At 21 damage piercing, right, it's going to get through your pretender's armor actually fairly easily, right? It's going to, like, half the time it's going to actually deal damage, and on high rolls it's actually going to be very dangerous for you. And the problem is that that's on your chest armor. The reason we've lost an eye is probably because they hit him in the head for a lot of damage, right, with only 15 head protection, and they've got spears so they can reach his head quite easily. So this is just overall kind of a shit situation for us. And also, when they go berserk, they ignore your awe, and they'll just get to attack you for free anyway. They're also summoning skeletons, which just ignore awe normally because they're mindless, and mindless units ignore awe. Berserk units also ignore fear, so you know they're just negating a lot of the advantages that actually allow you to expand. So this is a very unideal situation. I think in hindsight, maybe I would have gone for the cavalry instead, although cavalry are also something you do not want to expand into with your pretender. Pretty much not any kind of elite single unit wants to expand into cavalry alone. It's very dangerous. Let's see, he got tough skin, gives him increased protection. That's actually very, very good. It means that this guy is going to be an absolute beast while expanding. There's not as much chance of him dying as there might be otherwise. So we're going to go that way. Let's see, which way do we want to go with this guy? Let's give him something. Oh, that's actually dangerous. So this is, again, this is all bad. This is, the Throne Province is very dangerous. Probably suicidal to expand into with just our pretender. Woodsman and Woodsman blowpipes, they do fatigue damage and it's mostly ranged, so they are super spooky to expand into. I'm moving this guy over here to start building temples, by the way. So this is just a whole bundle of nope. I don't like this at all. What would I actually do? What do I do here? I think I just expand in here anyway, and I hope for the best. I might take something a little more conservative in some multiplayer games, but we'll just see how it goes. I kind of want to give you a good idea of what this guy can potentially handle anyway, right? Let's see. So these guys are going in here. He's gonna have some trouble actually. We're gonna go back to the capital and get some more units for this guy. And the Dione should be ready about then too. Okay, let's end turn. Overall, I would say this is a pretty subpar expansion compared to some of my test runs. I think this you're not going to normally have this much trouble, probably. All right, let's see how this went. This was going to be much worse, but there is there like a realizing poison. Oh, he's poison resistant. Right, for most pretenders this would be bad, but he doesn't really give a shit. Cool. Alright, he just doesn't take any damage at all, hacks his... Alright, well that's hilarious. I was worried about nothing. Alright, this guy's trying to get ahead of my pretender as we go scout for the enemy player. Okay, if there was one. You know, there isn't, of course, but... Alright, Bear Tribe. The Bear Tribe is not good. There's some different types like Deer Tribe. Deer Tribe is hilariously easy. Bear Tribe is actually dangerous, but it should probably be fine. Those other guys, the Bone Tribe guys we expanded into, way scarier than Bear Tribe, and we handled them, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. Alright, this guy, we're going to have him bless himself and then attack the closest enemies. No alteration 2 yet? Yeah, of course not. Alright, there's no way we were going to get it that easily, so we're going to actually... Let's see, we're going to take this guy over here, this guy over here, and this guy is going to build a temple. All right, sweet, end turn. Alright, Onikunshu didn't have any trouble with the Bear Tribe guys, and the Lion Tribe should be very easy. They don't deal a lot of damage. Oh shit, really? Lost an eye and he's limping now. Ooh, man, life is tough for our pretender. Alright, but we're probably gonna have an easy time with Lion Tribe, I hope. We're gonna have this guy expanded to cavalry because he's got troops to help with that, and this guy's gonna go up there. This guy built this temple, so he's gonna move over, and we're recruiting more Dai Oni. So, this is the downside of the Onikunshu, which is that he's going to build up afflictions. There's not really much we can do about it. we're just kind of stuck with them, and they're not gonna go away. Oh. Well, I'm sorry, I got a spam phone call. What the hell? Yeah, so I guess I'm just gonna leave that in because I don't really do video editing. I'm too impatient for it. I just like to upload my videos. So, hey, welcome to my crappy YouTube channel. All right, well, let's continue. We got our asses handed to us by cavalry. I fucking hate cavalry. We killed most of them, but still asses handed. Asses were handed. The Onikunshu did okay. The Dai did good. He's a new famous hero. One thing that's nice is that you're going to be able to kind of farm heroes, and if you get lucky... Huh, fast casting, is that... I wonder how much that does. I don't know if it's going to say anywhere. Combat speed? Huh. Not really much mentioned. Interesting. Well, I don't know how good that's gonna be, but it theoretically could be very good. There's some heroic. Most heroic abilities are not gonna help you a lot. You can't count on them, but some of them are very, very good. In particular, I haven't been adding. Well, I have. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but always add one province defense on your provinces. Don't be a lemon and get your province taken away from you by a scout, because it's gonna happen if you don't do that. If you don't remember, it's gonna happen. Oh yes. All right, make my scout keep going. All right, this guy, he's not gonna go into he's not gonna go there. He's gonna team up with this guy, and this guy is just going to search for magic sites. Sure, why not? All right, so what was I saying? I feel like I was mentioning something vaguely important. Nope, it's gone from my mind now. Oh yeah, heroic abilities. That's right. You can't count on them, but you're gonna get the opportunity. Do I want to expand into barbarians? That's really spooky. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Not one bit. So he's going to actually search for magic sites, and we're going to wait on research. Do we want to wait on that much research? So this is kind of a tough decision. I think there's a decent chance that I'll die if I expanded to barbarians right here, but I also really don't want to stop expanding. I don't really want to move because there's nowhere else good for me to go with this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my other Dai over here and search for magic sites, and who knows, maybe I'll build a temple or a lab here or something and start building a fort, right? Yeah, sure. Bakumono Chiefs. I believe that mountains, if I recall correctly, increase the number of Oni spawns you get, so I probably want to build something there anyway, right? I probably want to build a temple there sooner or later. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And this is drawing to a close. I think this is most of the expansion phase covered right here. Oh, fuck, I just distracted myself again. Heroic abilities, right? So heroic abilities are mostly not going to be very useful, right? Like, what did I get? So this is a good example, though. This guy did get a useful heroic ability. Now, heroic abilities can be very useful, but the odds are not good that you're going to get one of the good ones. The good ones are like, there's one that gives you reinvig. It's like heroic endurance, heroic battle prowess, heroic toughness. Heroic obesity is mostly bad, but it has some upsides to it. But the thing is, if you get one on a Dai like this guy, oh, that's rough. He's mute. Ooh, that sucks. Okay. Well, if you get one on a Dai like this guy, it can be extremely useful. Oh. Interesting. Animal cemetery. Fun. All right, so if you get a really good one on a unit like a Dione that's very powerful naturally, and you get something like, not fast casting, but if you get something like heroic toughness like this other guy has, or you get like increased, I think there might be just a, this isn't heroic toughness, is it? No, it's tough skin. Heroic toughness just straight up increases your hit points. That can make an already good unit extremely good. And you've got an opportunity to fish for it because you're going to be expanding with these guys regardless. So, you know, it's just a nice bonus, I guess. I don't know if I really have anything else to say about that. So this guy, let's start building a Palisades. I don't have money. Ooh. At some point, you're going to want to stop recruiting Dione, and you're going to want to start recruiting Sorcerers, Onishugo, or Naminari. I think I want to recruit Onishugo. The reason I kind of want to recruit Onishugo, if possible, is because of the Oni Summoner trait, so I can get more units spawning every month. For research purposes, I really want to get some Sorcerers in. And these guys are cheap. I think that's where I stopped that sentence, actually. They're cheap. Okay, so let's build another temple. This guy can't start doing what I want him to start doing, but that's fine. These guys together, can they do it? That's rough. They can't really do anything because terrain doesn't work out. They're going to wait here. This guy will search for a magic site. This guy will construct a temple, and this guy will patrol the province. And now I think we've set up everything, right? All right, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to group up my units to take some of these tougher provinces, right? So this guy's going to come in here. This guy's entering the site a couple times. If he wasn't entering the site, I'd probably would have moved him over here and searched for magic sites and moved him back or something like that. And then these guys are all going to attack this throne province, which is risky, to be sure, but possibly worth it. I hope worth it. I think it'll work out with 3 guys. Oh, you know what I didn't do that was pretty dumb of me is I probably could have brought, I think, like a couple of those that already spawned, and I could have brought them with me to attack the throne province. These 3 guys together can probably do it. I'd be a lot more confident if I'd already hit alteration 2 so they could cast stone skin, but it's probably gonna work out. Let's see. And these guys will group up still before we fight the barbarians. All right. Okay, throne province taken, no big deal. Now keep in mind, not just any, you couldn't do that for just any throne province. This one looked like a level 1 throne, so I wasn't super worried. If it looked like a level 3 throne or had any indication that it had special units or mages in it, I would not have gone for it, as it almost certainly would have been suicide. And now that I've taken the throne province, I can claim it with this guy, and these 2 can go on to take more provinces. And then we can go down, oh, let's see, where's our priest? He can build another temple. We're getting our temple spread pretty good, and these guys can go to take these barbarians out. Excellent. And they've got a little bit of units with them now. Cool. And here we go. All right. These guys took out the barbarians without much trouble. These guys took out this next province without much trouble. And this is where I'm going to call it. We've pretty much finished expansion. I don't know why I haven't seen the other random nation here. Maybe they're a water nation. Maybe the AI is bugged out. I'm not sure. There was supposed to be another one. This is about, let's see, early spring in year 1. Early spring. You know, this should say we should be entering about winter now in year 1. Does it start in year 0? Am I just being a derp? Maybe. I hope my game's not too bugged. It doesn't matter if my game's bugged out. The advice is still good. All right, so we've expanded pretty well. We've covered a decent number of our provinces with temples. You're gonna want to keep being active, covering your provinces with temples. You're gonna want to build another fort about now, maybe a little bit sooner than about now. Now we've got some money in the treasury because I've stopped recruiting Dione constantly. We're getting our alteration slowly reached. These guys do not research fast and drain scales at all. But we're, maybe at this point switch over. We recruit a few sorcerers who are going to research a little more effectively, and we're going to want to build another fortress, and we're going to want to get more sorcerers, and we're going to want to start ramping up our research. It's still going to be kind of pitiful, but such is life. there are some other options, like there's some stuff you can get in construction to amp up your research that you're going to have access to because you have death mages, but for the most part it's still going to suck. You're going to want to get that Alteration 3, Conjuration 3 before you start fighting players so that you can do Summon Earth Power and then Iron Skin and then run at them. And you're going to then want to have, probably pretty quickly, you're going to want to have Thaumaturgy, possibly Evocation, because you could go up to level 3 and cast Fireball. There's also the option to go up to Enchantment 5, like I mentioned before, and get Horde of Skeletons, which is very, very good, and your a lot of your units are very good at spamming it. But for the most part, this gets you everything you really need to get started, and these guys should be, well, they won't be as good versus players as they are versus indie provinces, of course. However, with this powerful bless, especially if you hit Alteration 3 and you give them Iron Skin, or even just Alteration 2 for Stone Skin, but Iron Skin in particular, because it's going to make your head armor 20, right? So you're not going to have that head armor weakness. That's going to be a big difference, and you're not going to want to take your Pretender out to fight them, but your Dione will be able to at least raid enemy provinces without that don't have armies in them very effectively, and you're going to be able to send one of them around and, you know, gather up all these little Oni and actually lead an army and be very effective, right? Other than that, I don't really have a ton of advice for the mid to late game. I do think Yomi is still kind of a weak nation because they're going to have always going to have a problem fighting in order scales, which is going to be the case a lot of the time, right? Because, you know, other people are going to have their own dominion and their own scales, and they don't have any great way to push into it. They don't have any great way to sneak in and generate a ton of unrest. I think your best bet is to cast End of Culture, which gives you turmoil spread and makes things a little better for you, and you can what's the word I'm looking for with there? Get more free spawn units and take control of a lot of territory, build temples on every province, and then hopefully you can get enough free spawn that you can kind of overwhelm your opponents with chaff. Maybe you take Oni Shugo, put them behind the lines, and spam Horde of Skeletons. Yeah, overall I think they're pretty weak. This is definitely one viable option. The other thing I would suggest as a potential option is that the Earth Snake expansion option, right? Earth Serpent, if you take them to Earth 6 and you get Reinvigoration 3 times as your bless, that's very good, especially for your Oni Shugo, right? So they, as Death Mage 2s, can spam Horde of Skeletons. 3 Reinvigoration is a pretty good amount of reinvig for casting spells over a long period of time. So what you do with that build is you'd have your Earth Serpent, your regular army would expand, but it would kind of suck at it, and you'd actually try and recruit some bandits, and you would have slightly better scales, and your Earth Serpent would do most of the work, slaughtering its way through all these provinces, just like the Oni Kunshu, but more reliable and harder to kill. And it also recovers from afflictions, so that's nice. And then in the mid to late game, you're going to want to definitely go for the Enchantment 5, and you're going to take, you know, like a couple Dione, and you're going to take a bunch of Oni Shugo, and you're going to go with your army of guys, and you're going to spam Horde of Skeletons behind the lines really effectively, because you're going to have a bunch of reinvig, basically. And that's about it. I think that covers everything. For now, of course, if you have any questions, if there are any other videos you would like to see me make, let me know in the comments. I've also made a mod for Yomi that I think improves them a little bit. It adds chaos spread to the nation naturally. It makes the Oni, which I don't think I've had any Oni spawn at all. I wish. Maybe there's a way. I don't know if there's a way to mod that yet, but I don't think I've had any actual Oni or Crow Oni spawn. But if I had, they get furs in the mod. This is not with the mod equipped, but in the mod I add furs to them to make them a little less crap, because they're kind of bad units for how rare they are. And I think I make their ghost form slightly better. And that's it. It's fairly subtle changes. I certainly would recommend it if you're playing this nation solo, although, you know, in multiplayer it might be harder to convince people to let you use any mod. People are just distrusting, even if it's relatively minor. In general, you know, don't play this nation in multiplayer unless you're looking for a challenge. But in single player, I think they're quite fun and interesting. All right, talk to you all later.